Hello and welcome back to Liam Doesn't Know Ball. It is 4:14 Central Standard Time. I just finished watching Newcastle Liverpool. What a game! Absolute cinema. That's like I said yesterday. I wanted to wait until that game had was done before I did my big six talking points because I had a feeling I'd get at least one talking point, and I got two. I was gonna. That's irrelevant what I was gonna do, but just a reminder for this series. This is not me going through game by game. This is like the larger Big Six talking points from around the league and stuff. So just bear that in mind. So with that being said, I'm going to start off with my club, Aston Villa, and my talking point there is they are going to try my patience. I already did a roast and toast on the performance. It was not good enough. And there's no FFP, PSR, SCR excuse. It wasn't good enough. I went into detail with that with the roast and toast, but what I'm going to say is just we used to have an identity in this season, the 23-24 season. We were the high line. That is how we played. Last season, we were playing with maximum width. Now we've got no width. It's nuts. Something's got to change, and people have done more eloquent tactical breakdowns than I can ever do. I literally call myself Liam Doesn't Know Ball because I'm still not the best with tactics. I'm very much man down at the pub, just kind of giving my opinion, kind of by the eye test. So Villa trying my patience is going to be number one. Um, Up next, number two, Everton are kind of redemption FC this season. David Moyes, I know he came in last season, but it's always how much of that is the new manager bounce? It's a new season. Everyone's kind of starting fresh, has to get their new signings integrated. They've been fantastic. Well, they weren't fantastic last week against Leeds, but um, yeah, Moyes going back to Everton, and they look very good, very comfortable. Jack Grealish from Man City, he's like the Villa Grealish. I enjoyed watching Grealish. It was amazing. He was dictating play. He was man of the match. He was excellent. And it was really nice to see him get his own round of applause as he was subbed off in stoppage time or like just before. It was really nice to see. Um, like I said, any chance we can get City to cancel that loan so we can have him back, but those are just jokes. And then Dewsbury Hall. Now, I was not impressed with Chelsea signing Dewsbury Hall. It felt almost obligatory, like, oh, he was Maresca's best player at Leicester in the championship, so, oh, he is kind of obliged to move with him. But I thought he was pretty solid, aside from giving away the penalty, which Pickford saved. I thought he was pretty darn good. So Everton being Redemption FC this season is point number two. Now, point three. I have props now. Let's talk relegation battle. I don't think it's necessarily going to be three up, three down this season like it has been the last two, which is a welcomed change because it was just getting boring, like the gap between the championship and the Prem was just getting too big. So I am happy that there will be, it looks like at least, we're 2 game weeks in. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but um, oops. I think Wolves are in trouble. They haven't scored a goal. And granted, they've played City and then they had a red card. I've already talked about Villa. Not going to talk, but I don't think we're realistically going to be in the relegation zone come end of the season. Or even like, I always say 10 game weeks. You kind of figure where people are going to go, barring some outlier surges up and down any season. But relegation, I don't think is necessarily going to be three up, three down. Sunderland beat West Ham, and West Ham have been pretty bad. I'm not going to lie. Wolves, I'm not entirely convinced of. We'll see, but Leeds have, they kind of, the best analogy I can give is kind of like their they're kind of like a super preppy high school where they have like the most elite players, but they're playing against squads that are just better. It does look like championship versus prem, but like if they get everything to work, could they stay up? Maybe. Like of the three that came up, I think they're probably my favorite, but I think it's worth noting the three teams that came up this season, Sunderland, Burnley, and Leeds, these are all proper big clubs who have a lot of top flight experience. So I do think that plays into it as well. Wolves have had a rough couple of seasons. West Ham have had a rough couple of seasons. I don't think they've spent the Declan Rice money very well. So again, I think they might be in some serious trouble. Okay, moving on to something a little more popular or positive. Point four, Spurs could do something. I don't necessarily think they're going to win the league. I think that it's going to be a three-horse race between Arsenal, Liverpool, and City. Maybe Chelsea get in there too, but with how young and inexperienced and how streaky they can be, I'm not going to say that until we get done with the festive fixtures, just because that's a lot of fixtures. They've actually got Champions League, where last year they were in the Europa Conference League. They didn't need Palmer even in the group stages. And yes, they won the Club World Cup. They put on a fantastic performance against PSG. João Pedro is looking incredible. But I will point out PSG against Bayern, PSG had a harder run in from the quarters to the semis and then the final. They had to beat Bayern down to 10 men and then scored their second goal down to 9. And then they had to play Real Madrid. Who did Chelsea play? I know that at one point they played Al Hilal, and I know they played Palmeiras, which is objectively not the hardest path. PSG had a way harder path. Um, I'm supposed to be talking about Spurs. Good job, Liam. So I don't think that Spurs will challenge for the title necessarily, and I think that with Big Ange getting sacked, there were reports coming out that the players weren't happy about it. They won a trophy. They seemed to like Ange, like whether it's like a I don't like him, but I respect him or something like that, or they just liked him a lot and like no holds barred. Like sacking your manager and then bringing in Frank was not popular. Then Madison goes out. They've missed out on some transfer targets. Most recently, Olise, or not Olise, Eze. Olise, Eze. And also they were at Palace. But, they could go on a little run, maybe win a domestic trophy. I don't think winning the Carabao Cup, I think that would really, I could really piss off some Arsenal fans if they win trophies back-to-back seasons and then Arsenal become the laughing stock of North London. But again, we're 2 game weeks in. Just want to note Spurs, I mean, I wasn't all that impressed when they beat Burnley. Like, okay, you beat Burnley at home, good job. But beating City on the road 2-0, that's something you got to take note of. And my uncle's a Man City fan, and he said that was the worst they've played since he's been following, but it's still City. This is still a £1 billion squad, or damn near, and you kept Haaland off the score sheet. That's something you have to take note of. Okay, now moving on to the 2 points I have for just this game, Newcastle Liverpool. I'm going to start with Liverpool. That defense needs a lot of work. I mean, last week they were up 2-0 very comfortably at Anfield, which is an absolute fortress, and they bottle it to Bournemouth. I mean, they went on to win 4-2, and today they went on. We'll get to today later, or in just a second. But that's not good enough. That really isn't. I personally haven't been all that impressed with Kirkes. Just haven't. I don't necessarily understand why Szoboszlai and then Curtis Jones were playing right back when Connor Bradley was fit. That's why I thought that those two were playing back there. But why? Because Connor Bradley has played Premier League football and looked comfortable and good. I didn't understand that, and I know it's not just down to that. Mo Salah was also pretty much a non factor in the game for me, at least. He wasn't really getting involved, or wasn't. He just wasn't much of a factor for in the game for me. And then today, you blow a 2-0 lead with down to 10 men after you score in the first minute after halftime. Like, you should be putting them to the sword. And you concede 2 goals and are pinned back after that second goal. There is some very serious uh, adjustments that need to be made because you've played, again, Bournemouth at home and 10-man Newcastle. You defend like that against City, Arsenal, even Chelsea, and possibly Spurs, you're going to be in some pretty big trouble. I would say go out and get Gahey because, man, something's got to change with that defense. Okay, now on to Newcastle. This is begrudging, but that was an absolutely cinematic performance. It was pure cinema entertainment. Wonderful to watch as a neutral, even though, Villa fans of Newcastle, I know we're supposed to put all of that aside, come together and dislike the Premier League for their rules, but they're still a competitor in my eyes, and them not picking up points is good. Now, with that being said, the noise was a cauldron of noise. The belief was just electric. Bruno G was just an I'm not a big fan of Bruno G. I even posted something about like how he needs just about him crying and just I'm not a big fan of Bruno G. Um, I I also I think that is a good sign for the Champions League because I was like, man, if you're playing like this, you play that erratically against Liverpool, who are a Champions League quality team. Like, oh man, what are you gonna do? I think they've got a pretty good shot. I mean, they're not gonna get out in the league phase. Let's be serious. But now, but they could go on a run. I really do think they could. I know they got grouped, and that was due to like a dodgy penalty. But yeah, I don't know what else to say beyond. They could go on a run. I'm very encouraged by their belief. The one thing I am concerned about is if Anthony Gordon is suspended for, I think at most it would be 1 game because it was serious foul play. I think it's only violent conduct that's 3 games, but either way, if assuming that red card suspension is upheld, who plays center forward now? That's not really a huge talking point. That's just me thinking way too far ahead, but it's a thought. So, anyways, those are my big 6 talking points for the week. Again, to recap, Villa are going to try my patience. Everton are redemption FC. Relegation may not be 3 up, 3 down. Spurs could do something. Maybe not win the league, but do something. Maybe win a domestic trophy. Liverpool defense needs a lot of work. And Newcastle, wow, what a composed performance. That's how you do it, Villa, by the way. When you're down to 10 men, you're playing so conservative. Even with 11 men, that wasn't going to happen with 10. But those are my thoughts. Let me know. Did you have any talking points that you took away from this game week that I didn't pick up on? Let me know. And as always, up the Villa.